It's a real deal, y'all. You know, having a brother talk about another brother in such a warm and compassionate, passionate way. I certainly appreciate that. I'm going to take you on the road with me, okay? You can use that kind of encouragement and upliftment. And I don't know, this is what, my fourth, fifth time? I'm not sure. I lose count how many times I've been here in Yonkers. Right. I'm trying to remember, you know, there's two signs, there's two things that indicate you're getting old. One is the loss of memory. I can't think of the second one, but I'll get there. One of the things about coming here, Brother Rob, is that it's family all the time. Right, John? Ali? It's family all the time, isn't it? Right. Get a drum or something, y'all. Brother Rob, you and your crew, including Richard Cruz, are always so remarkably on point. And I'm always privileged to be with your honorees in particular. You got D&D up here, right? Actually, DJ. Down in Jericho. So good to be with the both of you. You know, and you too, young lady. You know, you're chowing on up there. One of the things about opportunities doing Black History Month is a chance for us struggling academics and writers, you know, to get opportunities to share platforms, and in some of the better situations, you know, pick up a few ducats, you know. You wish it was a lot longer, certainly, and you're absolutely right, Brother Rob. We struggled for this. Nobody gave us anything. And we don't intend anyone to give us anything. You know, if everything was fair and square, we wouldn't have to worry about anything, you know? Because we deserve a lot more than we'll ever receive in this country. You look at the building of this country, we did that. You talk about Christopher Columbus earlier, the only thing Christopher Columbus understood was that he was lost. He had no idea where he was. And then, Rev, he started calling people out of their names, you know, signifying Indians and what have you. I'm always privileged to have opportunities with gatherings and Yonkers and White Plains and New Rochelle. And this evening brings two particular worlds together for me, beyond the Yonkers. One is the City College on Saturdays, and the only reason I'm here is because my students allowed me to come. Because ordinarily at this time, I'm in the classroom. This is another kind of classroom here. I love this situation here. However, I usually try to take a few of my students with me. And I have two of them here. They're privileged to join me. You know, Trudy and Eric. Stand on up, y'all. That's part of our intellectual and academic future. At least so far. I think, well, they've both been with me before. They're remarkable students, and I'm honored to have an opportunity to share with them the little bit of information I have about African American and world history. I say the other world, the other part of that world that conjunctions with us this afternoon is from the College of New Rochelle. I taught 26 years at the College of New Rochelle. I was always like what Miles Mabel used to say, I don't know if I was there too long or wouldn't be there much longer. But 26 years you're there, and I had the opportunity to have, some of the most remarkable students, and one of them is here this evening. And Reverend James Kilgore, will you stand up, please? You know him, don't you, Jericho? All right. Jericho brought his family here. That fills up half the room. But Reverend Kilgore, I was so surprised to see you in the parking lot out there. And you brought back so many memories and reminded me of some of our dearly departed who've gone on to give sermons elsewhere. But you, I think, stood out in many ways because you carried on a religious, spiritual, intellectual, political, activist legacy. And being at Friendship, I mean, that's what Thomas Kilgore, perhaps of no relationship, in the same way Lionel, perhaps, Nat Turner is not related to you, but you have that spirit. Thomas Kilgore was an outstanding pastor, and it was at his church that the whole civil rights movement was conceived. Upstairs, I guess, in one of the offices you share there now, where he began to put together, along with Bayard Rustin and some of the outstanding activists of the 1960s, began to chart, lay out the March on Washington in 1963. That's his church, y'all. That's where he is. So you are in, and have been in that pulpit, and it's been, I had a couple of opportunities to come there and speak to your congregation, and I hope you're doing well and the church is growing. College of New Rochelle, City College. I just got back from Pittsburgh, and there I had an opportunity to be with Fred Logan, who heads up the Black Studies Department at the University of Pittsburgh. They brought me in to talk about 2 films. Now, DJ, you talk about the way in which we can use music to look. It's one prism, one lens, which we can use to look at our history and culture. Film is another way. And I know a few of you tomorrow will be paying attention to the Oscar So White. I predict that we'll get a couple of victories tomorrow evening. And particularly Viola Davis. I don't know if you saw Fences, huh? Check it out. Check it out. She's strong. There's Denzel Washington there. You can't miss with Denzel, can you? I don't think he'll get what he's looking for there and what I feel he deserves. But Viola, powerful. What about Moonlight? Anybody check out Moonlight? What about Hidden Figures? Oh, yeah. Courageous black women, mathematicians and engineers. I mean, John Glenn was saying that when he was going up in space, he said they had computers and everything by that time, not as advanced as they are right now. But John Glenn said he turned to the black women there and asked them, in terms of the trajectory and the possible landing, how does it look? Because the computer is saying one thing, but I'm going to pay attention to what you got to say. John Glenn was smart enough to listen to black women, in terms of making that voyage into space. So we'll see exactly how they do tomorrow. Nonetheless, they should see the film. Another film that's out there is called I Am Not Your Negro, and I certainly am not. But that's a fine documentary Raoul Peck put together. He also did one on Patrice Lumumba. They had a feature film on Patrice Lumumba. James Baldwin. It's a script that James Baldwin started and never finished. All about 3 close friends that he had. Malcolm X, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and Medgar Evers. Each of them, having their lives violently torn away from us. He put together about 30 pages. Raoul Peck comes along, he assembles that, as well as a number of other parts of Baldwin's enormous collection of writings. And that's the script for I'm Not Your Negro. It's nominated for an Oscar, but again, I think OJ is probably going to take that one. OJ in America. I think 7.5 hours. You know, and of course already they've won a couple of other awards in advance. So film, when I was in Pittsburgh, I talked about Death of a Prophet. They wanted me out there to talk about that film. And that's Woody King Jr., an outstanding theater person with the whole Henry Street settlement. I go back to Detroit with Woody King Jr. when he had Concept East Theater on the east side of the city. That film with Morgan Freeman and Yolanda King playing Betty Shabazz. So right there you have the King family and the Shabazz family coming together. And in the same way, many people felt that Dr. King and Malcolm X, near the end of their lives, there was certain kind of a trajectory there, that their ideas coming together. Can you imagine how powerful that is, gang? To have the ideas of Dr. King and Malcolm X conjoined. You can understand that the government recognized the power of that and made bigger targets on each of their backs. The other film I talked about was called The Birth of a Nation. And I don't mean the D.W. Griffin version. We're talking about a young filmmaker, Nate Parker, who pulled it together. I mean, just if you get a chance, how many of you saw it, you know, The Birth of a Nation? The new version. Right, powerful film, huh, Eric? Trudy? You have to see that and see how this young filmmaker flips the script and subverts it in such a way as to give it a whole new meaning and understanding for us in this country. Because the D.W. Griffin did, they premiered it in the White House in 1915 when Woodrow Wilson was president. And he said, this is history written like lightning. It also was a travesty. Anytime the Ku Klux Klan is a hero, we in trouble. Same thing happened with Mississippi Burning. The FBI is a hero. Think twice on that one. We're at a time now where we begin my students, I try to bring them with an audio-visual understanding. Many of them already have it. In fact, their technical proficiency when it comes to the internet is just absolutely amazing. They have taught me so much in terms of how to navigate, which is absolutely a thicket of information. As I speak to you right now, almost 1,000 new websites were created. Can you imagine, like, how do I GPS my way through that one, Eric? And get to the source of the information. How do we get to facts, particularly in a world now where we have individuals running around with alternate facts, Kellyanne Conway, who have fake news, you know, in other words, misinformation, and all of that stemming from, for the most part, the president, Agent Orange. This must go. Well, Trump must go. And we're going to lay on that each week. You know, heaven only knows what it'll mean, but they have such disarray. We may not have to do anything. They're kind of like disassembling as it is. And I'm not going to get into all of the problems they're having, including transgender. You know, I mean, they can't get on the same page there. You've got a so-called Secretary of State, I say so-called, because his power and his influence is going to be minimized because you got a Steve Bannon. You know, so that's really the president, you know. He's laying out the blueprint and giving us an understanding exactly the direction, the destructive aims, the absolute destructive aims of the Trump administration. No matter which agency, institution you look at, they put somebody in power there that has nothing but destruction on their mind. They call it the EPA, I call it the EDA. And they take that protection out there and make it destruction. Because essentially that's what they have in each of those. Betsy DeVos, give me a break. At least she stepped up for the transgender. I'm curious on how that's going to play out. Because she turned around, she may get fired. Because Trump has that kind of a quick figure, you know, that he'll do. He'll tweet you in a minute and you're gone. And that's the kind of government we got, somebody reading us, telling us exactly what's going on. He's getting his information about foreign policy, by 6 Minutes television. I mean, Sweden, he can just mangle that completely. So we can expect to have more and more of this. However, we should not be distracted. We got work to do on our own. That madman can go ahead and do what he got to do. What are the lessons for us and what should we do? I say something about film, certainly. I learned a lot from films over the years. I mean, Spike Lee's films have been very instructive. Matter of fact, the other night they had Do the Right Thing on again. I look at John Singleton, the work he's done out, Ava DuVernay, her 13 out there. That's a powerful film. Check that out. The kind of going all the way back to Oscar Micheaux. All right, we take it back to the 19th century. Where this filmmaker there, independent filmmaker on his own. He wasn't getting no Fox Searchlight money, as Mr. Parker got, $17.5 million, to get his film distributed. Here's a man who went from community to community showing his film. They had one on the other night called Swing, where he began to look at, again, in a very textured way, the relationship we had, something beyond Amos and Andy, y'all. Some kind of real concerns in terms of how we begin to move as a people. So what we have is like an understanding of where we've been as a people, where we are as a people, and where on earth are we going. It's the Sankofa thing. The Sankofa bird, it faces forward, but it looks back. So you bring past and present together. For me, past is prologue. You study the past. I mean, that's what we're talking about this afternoon. When you go to Juneteenth, when you talk about Ojima, you're talking about work in a collective way, in a very responsible way too. And of course, Juneteenth, that goes back to 1865, when General Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, and to inform the people there that, hey, use free. You've been free for 2.5 years. And you're just now getting the news, JJ. Well, this communication systems are far better now in terms of getting information. Matter of fact, it's like, ooh, rapid. Right now, some of you may be on one of your gizmos picking up some breaking news that's going on. Juneteenth, whenever you have it, is important. I know they talk about that June the 19th, when more and more communities and cities